Welcome to Really Raha, the podcast for women who know they're way too powerful to be stuck in a 9-to-5. I'm Rahaf, multi-six-figure high-ticket sales coach, PhD student in global leadership and change, and sponsored skateboarder. I went from serving tables and chasing tips to mastering high-ticket sales and building income streams that don't require me to trade hours for dollars. Here we talk about the real path into remote sales, landing aligned offers, closing with confidence, regulating your nervous system under pressure, and building a skill set that pays you from anywhere. This isn't bro sales. This is psychology, power, and feminine precision. If you're here, it's because you feel it. Freedom isn't optional for you. It's inevitable. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome back to the Really Raha podcast. We have a very special guest today. We have Mike joining us again. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about how to get creative with money, how to see beyond resources so that you can get the things you want. Hi, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Stoked to be here.
So happy to have you here and for you to share your wisdom with us. In order to get the things we want, it requires this version of us that has this leap with ourselves. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how it doesn't have to feel like such a big leap for you to be able to get that training so that you can get what you want with whoever you want, because it's all about who you vibe with. But in order to be a remote high ticket closer, it's to get that training first, to get that experience in the training program.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere, right? So, whether you are just coming out of college, like you said, or maybe you're changing career paths and you were doing something else, or you're ready to level up, like you were serving and it was time to level up. Because I was doing marketing before I got into this. And so whatever the case may be, everybody's got to start somewhere in their sales journey, and it's easy to get stuck there. And when you're first starting, everyone that's hiring, every offer owner, business owner, they all want experience, right? That seems to be the common thing. Well, how do I get experience when I have no experience? And so, well, obviously, training is the obvious answer, but it can be tough even getting the training because that can take money. And it's like, well, how do we pay for something when that's the thing that's going to make us the money? So it's sort of like this weird chicken or egg scenario. And I think it's super important to learn how to be resourceful, not only in situations like that, but just in general, because when I was first getting started in this, I went through the exact same thing. Learning how to get resourceful in that moment really just sets you up for success, because there's going to be a lot of moments in sales and in life where you need to be resourceful. So if getting over that is sort of like an exercise in getting over whatever the next thing is going to be, because there is going to be a next moment where you have to get resourceful. So I think it's super important to be able to think that way.
Yeah, I think of it as like an initiation.
Yep. It's a great way to look at it. It's like a test, do you pass the test? Because really, making money, being wealthy, it's really just a way of thinking. One thing that really tripped me up is because I come from sort of a traditional way of thinking. I grew up with, I was very much taught what I would call a blue pill mindset, which is very kind of by the book, go to school, that whole thing. And, there's certainly a case for that. And, but I always wanted more out of life. And to be able to get more out of life and to be able to earn more and to be able to get your output tied to your skills versus tied to your time, you have to get creative and you have to kind of go beyond what the norm is, because normal input equals normal output, right? So if you want great output, you have to have great input. So you have to go above and beyond what the world perceives as normal.
Well, tell us about how you invested in sales training when you were in this exact position, when you knew that you needed to invest in this training to gain a skill set, which ultimately led to you being in my business. Because if it wasn't for that, you literally would not be here on this podcast right now talking to us. But it was because you took that leap within yourself. So can you tell us more about how you did that and how you made the money and to be creative so that could happen?
Yeah, of course. So I was working. It was my first job out of college, and I was making okay money. It was sort of just enough, right? I had this, job, and it was okay. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. The people were rad, but I just knew there was more. And I was like, this is temporary. And I feel like a lot of people kind of get in that position, right? And it was just time to move on from that for a lot of reasons. And I kind of felt like I was starting from zero and I didn't really have extra money. And I was like, shoot, what's next? And I found high ticket sales and I really felt like, okay, this is what I want to do next because I like the remote aspect and the flexibility aspect. And so I was like, but I don't have any experience and people want experience and I don't have any extra money to get any training. And so I kind of got stuck. And I feel like that's probably a sticking point for a lot of people. And so I thought about, okay, how can I do this, right? Not can I do this, but how can I do this? Because that when you start thinking, how can I? Then that's when the resourcefulness starts to kick in. So what I did is I found a training program I really wanted to join, and it was $6,800, and I was like, okay, I don't have $6,800, but I knew that like this is what was next for me. So I was like, how can I do this? And so what I did is I opened up a 0% interest credit card. I actually met with a friend who was in business, and he was telling me, just use credit. Like you don't actually need money. Just it's funny the way he worded it was just open up a line of credit against one of your businesses and use that to fund your next thing. And I was like, what do you mean one of my businesses? Like I don't really have a business yet, but I took the principle that he was saying because he was more advanced than I was, and I was like, okay, so he used a line of credit, and I was like, well, I have personal credit, and so I was like, well, technically, if I open up a card with no interest, I can buy myself like a year or more, like a year and a half. And then I could pay it off later. And obviously, like, with debt, it can be like good or bad. So you got to be smart with debt. But like there's a concept of like good debt and bad debt. And if you like open up credit cards and just like go shopping and there's no return on that investment, so that's like bad debt. But if you use debt to your advantage, it becomes a tool. It's like a catapult where you can think of a catapult that's like, or a slingshot that's like shooting something like a boulder or a rock or something. In order to like propel this thing forward, you have to first pull it back. And that's kind of what debt is you're pulling the slingshot back and then it gives you more than you had initially. Because when you first start, you're like that rock. And if you have no momentum, you just kind of fall. But if you could pull back to go forward, again, as long as it's good debt, then that really was sort of the game-changing perspective for me. And so I opened up a no-interest card, bought myself, I believe it was a year and a half to get the training. And I was sort of at like a low point in my life, if I'm being honest with you. Just things were kind of, a bunch of stuff kind of broke. My car that I had the same car for like ever. It was the only car I'd ever had. It completely just died on me. I needed a new car. I needed to change, get a different source of income. And just a lot of things were kind of falling apart at once. And it was, I saw it as like a cleansing period. And I was like, okay, I need to kind of start fresh. I need to realign and it's okay. And I need to get resourceful because it's really easy to get focused on like external stuff. I was like, okay, well, like instead of being like, where's the money or like, where's the results? I need to be like in sync with the right frequencies, so to speak. And I had been following a lot of like wealth podcasts and thought leaders that got their money dialed. And I was like, okay, I need to follow this advice because obviously it's working. So if I can implement this same way of thinking, building wealth is literally just a way of thinking. So I had to do a lot of reprogramming, if I'm being honest with you. And a big one for me was the debt thing because I came from a family of like, almost like debt is bad. And that wasn't like something that anyone necessarily ever told me, but it was sort of just baked into my subconscious for some reason. Like, oh, the goal is to not have debt. The goal is to be out of debt. And like, I kind of realized that it's a tool. You just have to use it the right way. Think of like it's almost like a kitchen knife. A kitchen knife is a tool and it's a powerful tool and you can use it for good or for bad. Michael Myers would use it for bad, but you can also make delicious, healthy dinners for you and your family if you use it for good. And so you have to see tools for what they are and use them wisely. And debt is just like that. And so I learned how to use debt wisely, and I joined this program, and I was all in because obviously, when you join any sort of coaching program, like the coach, like I realized, okay, this coach can help me. There was a guy named Sam, and I was like, he can help me learn sales. He clearly knows what he's doing, and he's had a lot of success. And I want to copy exactly what he did because it's working. I just need a way in, and if I have to buy my way in, so what, So I bought my way in on credit, and needed to really what I was looking for was to reframe my way of thinking, because I was kind of looking at resources just in general in life. And this guy was very resourceful, clearly. And I was like, okay, I need to learn how to be more resourceful because that is what's going to get me more resources, right? I learned that one from Tony Robbins. It's not the resources, it's the resourcefulness. That's really the key thing. I had to do a lot of reframing around that. And I feel like a lot of people maybe can resonate with that. So I'm in, and I am focused. I'm all in. I'm motivated, and I'm really willing to work because he can tell me what to do. But, everyone's heard the phrase, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And I was like, he can't drink the water for me, but he can take me to it and I'll drink it. So as long as you're resourceful and willing to drink the water, I would say those two key components, you can become unstoppable. And to make a long story short, I got the training. I found a role that I really liked, and I started making money, and I started increasing my income. And actually, interestingly, I had been interested in real estate too. And so I found a real estate mentor to do high ticket sales for. And so I got this role with a real estate mentor, and he gave me this opportunity. I started making more money than I had been in the past, and I was in the world of real estate. So now I'm learning real estate every day, and I'm practicing high ticket sales. And so it's like this perfect combo of like kind of everything I wanted. So I have more active income, and I'm learning to build my passive income. And it was the next chapter that I had been wanting. So that was a great next step. And then long story short, I found an even better opportunity here with you. And
Yay.
so what I thought was like exactly what I wanted at the time, and I found something even better later on. It just kind of worked out that way. And so basically things just kind of kept going up from there, from kind of like that moment when I got resourceful and I looked inward. And I really took major accountability. I think that's so important, because I wasn't looking, especially in sales, like you really have to be disciplined, which I always, I know that about myself. I'm a disciplined person, and you really have to be disciplined because ultimately I knew nobody was going to save me, right? And I was like, I have to basically save myself. But in order to do that, I needed to pull that catapult back and make it happen. So, as long as you have that discipline and, you're willing to save yourself, then you just have to get the right reframes and the right strategies and the right mindset and implement the same belief system with somebody who has the results you want. And then from there, you can save yourself, because ultimately that's the only person that can save us, right? And so I, paid that car off with flying colors, no problem. And I also learned, whoa, that's a crazy strategy to like use beyond just high ticket sales. Long story short, I have an investment property now, and I use the same way of thinking to get my first investment property. So now I have active income and I have passive income from this way of thinking. And it's like you can apply it on a bigger scale.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much there. And it's all because you got in the way of thinking first. You didn't wait for anything external first. You got yourself there first. And just pieces of what you said, like, yes, there's bad debt and there's good debt.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we're brainwashed to think that $100K in debt and student loans for 1 year of school is normal. And I actually spoke with this prospect the other day, and she said to me, I have 3 master's degree and I'm still a restaurant server because I cannot get a job that even pays my bills, because having a degree at this point is honestly kind of useless. And this is coming from someone who has a bachelor's, has a master's. I'm a PhD student. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for the education I learned. It's great for me to teach it, but I don't have a job from my degrees. I have $500,000 in debt right now, and I'm not even done. So I don't see debt as a negative thing, even for school, because I've embodied the mindset that this is all investing in me. But it's even more valuable to invest in a skill set that is way less than student loans. So we've been brainwashed to think that student debt is normal, but investing in ourselves for a skill set and a training program is not. And that's the problem.
Yeah, it's so interesting how that how that works, right? Because what, like, yeah, why is student debt okay? And I'm doing air quotes for those that are just listening, and investing in a skill set risky. It's a way. It basically makes no sense. It's just what we perceive as normal, I guess, but I don't know, or what society perceives as normal. But
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
have a degree. I don't have as many degrees, but I have a bachelor's, and I've gotten you know a higher return on investment on my sales training than my bachelor's degree. Let me tell you that. That got me
Yeah.
my first job out of college, which carried me for a while, and I'm grateful for that for sure. So I'm not saying that was worthless at all. Like, I do think it was good, but ultimately, I think I just got way more when I started thinking this way. I just started getting way more just looking inward, being resourceful, investing in my skill set, because I just feel like there's a whole different way of thinking around that. Because when I was little growing up, you kind of go into kindergarten and you go into high school, and you don't really know how to make your own decisions yet. Your parents just kind of put you in school, and you're kind of like, yeah, I don't know, I'm here and these other kids are here, and you don't really make your own decisions. And so, at least me, I kind of got stuck in this like way of thinking, oh, this is just how it is. But when you really start to like step into your own and make your own decisions, like independent of what anybody else thinks, including my parents in this case, I realized being like, okay, like, what do I want out of life? And, taking full responsibility for that, I think, is super important. And not waiting for any sort of handouts or anything like that, from anyone, including a partner or a spouse or whatever, you know what I mean? A friend's approval, anything. And being like, okay, like, this is what's best for me, and I'm going to grow my skill set because this is what feels aligned to me, and nobody can do it for me, but also nobody can stop me. And so it's just this interesting place to be, because it's so empowering and
Yep.
freeing, and it takes discipline, of course, but ultimately just seeing like growing skills as like the thing that I can control, and not looking at anything external.
It's moving away from asking people for permission to giving them an FYI. Like, you didn't come to me and say, hey, do you think it's a good idea if I invest in this sales training program?
Hmm.
No, you said, by the way, I invested in this sales training program, and here's what I'm going to do. And there's a different type of energy between permission and FYI. There's a sense of power, there's a sense of accountability. And you said too, it's like it's all about buying time, because when you buy, it's all about just buying time. For anyone that was ever successful, they understand, how do I just buy a little time? How do I put some money in to buy time, Because that's what building anything that's beyond the blue pill world is about, is just buying more headway to get the things we want. And you said earlier, I had my car that was breaking down, things were falling apart. It felt like a cleansing period. That's how it happens.
Yep.
A lot of people that go through this change, they're going through a breakup. They're going
Yep.
through a move. They're going through big things in your life, because that's how it goes. Things come all at once, and it requires a version of yourself to have that cleansing period. And you didn't sit there and give an objection like, oh, I don't have money because my car needs fixed. It's like, no, you
Hmm.
found it within yourself to be able to get that buy-in. Because money, what is money? Money is energy. Money's not even fucking real. It's external. Money makes you go all in. You show up harder, because if that program was $600 instead of $6,800, you probably wouldn't have shown up the same way. You wouldn't have shown up to all the calls. You wouldn't have knocked on those 100 doors during that challenge. It gives you skin in the game. It gives you a buy-in, and results happen faster. And sure enough, you got the training program, you graduated, you became a DM setter and actually landed a super aligned role. You made money, you got your ROI pretty quickly, and then I came and snatched you up and brought you
Yep.
into my business. But that's how it is because you took accountability for your life. You took that responsibility over your choices. And that's the red pill mindset.
Yes. Just taking that accountability is so huge because I was definitely all in. And it's so funny because I kind of felt like I was hitting a rock bottom moment. And you mentioned like the cleansing period. And it kind of just felt like everything burned down all at once, like a huge forest fire. And that obviously sucks, right? Nobody wants to be in a forest fire, literally or figuratively. But the other side of that is like, well, now I have an like picture like a forest fire and then it rains and the water like washes everything away. And now you have this clear open space to replant. Maybe it used to be the Wild West of just random stuff everywhere, but now you can actually think through. And now as, you know, as a young adult now, I can actually think through the way I want my life as opposed to the way the cards were dealt, so to speak. And so I was able to replant and actually grow a garden versus just like just wild stuff, like weeds, basically. And so seeing that forest fire moment, seeing the upside of that forest fire moment, there's kind of two sides to every coin, right? Like I said earlier, there's two sides to the debt coin, right? There's two sides to the forest fire coin too. And so really just being able to see that and not get super emotional about when stuff goes wrong, because stuff's going to go wrong, you know? And yeah, did my car need fixing? For sure. My car needed replacing, you know, and just everything at the time. And so I had to get resourceful to a level I had never been. And
Yes.
yeah.
And I love that you said too, is you had to not make it personal. Because
Mhm.
when we step into the red pill world, regardless of if you're starting a business or not, but even for the purposes of this conversation, just being a remote high ticket closer, you don't need a business. But you need to start seeing yourself as a business because then all of your decisions become, oh, that's just business. It becomes less personal. Because if we start making decisions from a personal place, then we're not looking at ourselves as professionals showing up to make money. And you really have to take that in sales too. If you're in sales and you're making calls personal, like why did this person not close?
Mhm.
Why did this happen? It's like that's not the mindset we want to be in. So it's training yourself to be in the mindset of just seeing things as business. That's just business. It's not about me. That's personal. That's their journey. That's where they are.
Yep, 100%. I love that. And I think it's just such a good lesson, just being in sales at all. I think it's such a good lesson for just letting things fall and being bold and moving on and taking accountability and all that stuff. And actually, one thing that clicked when you were saying that is I feel like when I had this forest fire moment and everything kind of burned down and I opened up this 0% interest card. This is interesting, by the way. I remember I opened up an American Express card. This is my first time ever using American Express. And on the card, there was this little guy. He was like a little American Express character and he looked like a gladiator and he had that like kind of gladiator helmet with like the fuzzy thing. It's like it
Yeah.
looks like a mohawk on a helmet kind of. And I remember getting this card and I had talked to um, my friend who was, you know, a little more advanced in business and he said to, you know, just use credit. And I remember getting this card and remembering what he said and looking at this card and just sitting there with this forest fire burned down. And I look at this little gladiator guy and I'm like, dude, this guy is like the icon of my life right now. This guy is going to carry me through and he's going to fight for me and I want to fight for myself. And it was like this moment of like almost rebirth where
Mhm.
I used to look at like life as like, oh, like someone else do it for me. Someone else, you know, my life is someone else's responsibility. Like I was looking for like a job to take care of me or a teacher to take care of me or a parent
A
or just
way out.
yeah, I was looking for a way out basically. Exactly. And then when I got this little gladiator guy, and I was looking at this guy and I was like, no, I need to be this gladiator and I need to fight for myself because it's, you know, our parents aren't going to be here forever. Like nobody, no job or anything, no employer is gonna cover you. And I need to be this gladiator and I need to take accountability for my own stuff. And even no coach, even though I was signing up for this program, like I needed help because I didn't know I didn't know a lot about sales. You know, I had a tiny bit of sales experience, but I needed support. But I was like, even this sales coach I'm hiring, he's not gonna like save me. I need to save me. And so I just remember this little gladiator guy like really was a powerful moment. It was like the first thing I did after the forest was cleared. I was like, I'm planting this first tree and I'm putting my stake in the ground and I'm gonna really just step up to the plate now. And it's so crazy because that was sort of the first moment of the rest of my life, so to speak. Because from that moment forward, I was never really looking for anybody else or expecting anybody else to save me or to help me. And when people do, it's like a bonus, but I wasn't like expecting that or disappointed if they didn't, right? And it was always just like a bonus. And so, but the crazy thing about this is it kind of like was such a huge relief in a weird way, because I was like, wait a minute, dude, now I'm good for the rest of my life because I know that I can be resourceful. Even if I, let's say, go through this training and let's say it doesn't work out. Let's say I get this first sales role and it doesn't work out, but it doesn't matter because I am now equipped to take care of me. I'm not counting on anybody else or anything else
Yes.
to like save me. I can save me. And so even if, like, let's say something doesn't work out, well, I know that I can find a way in the future. And so like I got this first role, and I remember one of the things I did. It's so funny because one of the things I did is I outreached 100 people. One of the things they taught me to do was outreach 100 people, figure out what you want, outreach 100 people to like offer owners, right? Figure out what niche you want to be in. I knew I wanted to be in like, one of a few niches. One of them was real estate. And so I outreached a few offer owners, including some real estate. And I didn't even get anywhere near 100, by the way. I outreached like 22 people or something, and I got a response. And it was, I got actually more than one response. And I found a role that I really liked. And I was so empowered because I'm like, if this person doesn't respond, it doesn't matter because I know how to outreach. I know how to find whatever I need. I'm not waiting for someone to hand me a fish. I've been taught how to fish. What's that phrase? If you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a dinner. But if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. Right. And so I was like, well, I know how to fish now, so I can eat for a lifetime. So I don't need someone to give me a fish. I used to think like, where's my fish? Well, I know how to fish now, so I can find unlimited fish. And
so good.
Yeah.
So
and
good.
So it was like this weird freeing moment where I had nothing, but I had everything. And I was like, well, even if anything doesn't work out, even if someone were to screw me over, it doesn't matter because I got myself. And so now I can learn how to fish. I can find a role. Even if this role doesn't work out, maybe I don't like it, maybe it doesn't pay enough, whatever, I can just outreach 100 more people, find the next thing, and I can just be like, cool, thank you, next, and that's a skill for the rest of my life. I don't need to, and that applies beyond just sales, right? That's true in all walks of life. So being able to see it from that perspective was the game-changing moment, and it only happened after the forest fire, and that little gladiator guy is like the icon of that. So it's just, that I'm just like, being in that place is just such a good place to be. Yeah.
And with that gladiator guy, it's being on this journey, it can be lonely because you look around you and you're like, wow, I'm surrounded by blue pill people. I'm surrounded by people that even on my toughest days, they're going to say, are you sure you got this? And then it's very hard to believe in yourself in and of itself on those tough days. But when you hear that around you, it's even heavier. So we have to rely on something bigger than ourselves, whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whether it's source, whether it's energy, whether it's a gladiator guy on a credit card. You grab something bigger than you to remind yourself that you're not alone in this. And it teaches you the skill set of how to not look for a way out. Because
yes, exactly.
we've been conditioned to look for a way out. It's like we've never really had the skill set growing up of how do I look within myself? So you develop the evidence to not only did you gain the sales skill set, the outreach skill set, being in that sales training program, you gained the resourcefulness skill set, which was initiated from the moment you said, yes, I'm saying yes to investing in this right now. From that moment on, you started seeing your life as how can I, no matter what, because it trained you. And also too, when you outreached and you saw that role, he saw that you got the sales training. He saw your outreach experience. It wasn't like, oh, you reached out to him and you had no sales training. It was like all of it together formed you to be the type of person that would be an asset for his team. And I see so many women come into my DMs that are like, yeah, I'm outreaching these people. Nobody's responding. It's like, yeah, because they need to know that you've gotten sales training because you've invested in yourself. I would not bring someone onto my team if they did not get sales training and invest in themselves, not just for the sales skill set, but for what you're saying right now. I want to know that they had that moment within themselves of, okay, I'm going to invest in myself. This is stretchy. I want them to have the resourcefulness skill set when they come into my program, when they come into my team, because that is going to require that version of them to show up for themselves when it gets hard, when they practice the mocks, when they practice everything. It needs that version of themselves. That's why this isn't about the money. This isn't about resources. This is about how can I show up for myself and just trust my intuition that this is where I'm meant to go.
100%. And yeah, I had a few thoughts pop in. That training really came in handy because when I got the response and I did the interview, that came up. Like, okay, well, like, what experience do you have? And I didn't really have sales experience. I had a tiny bit, but it basically didn't count. And really, what I had was the training, and the fact that I even just the simple fact that I did that really was like showing that I'm following the law of congruence, which is basically you practice what you preach. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be in high ticket sales and I don't even believe in investing, then how the heck could I pass that on? Because people they can read your energy, which ties to your belief systems, through your words, right? No matter what you say. And if you don't believe in investing in yourself, you're never going to sell anybody anything, right? And so you have to walk the walk. So really, it's a way of empowering myself. And so it's, like I said, it's freeing. And it's like, now I'm in charge of my life, not somebody else. And so just the fact that even just the simple fact that I invested in myself showed that I believed in myself and in personal development, basically. And that right there, I think, made a huge difference. He even said, I like the fact that you got a training because, it was a high ticket mentorship. And he's like, well, I'm a big believer in mentorship because, figuring things out on your own is kind of the silly way to go through life. It's like the slow way. And you'll get way further if you could just leverage what other experts have learned. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Imagine if I'm over here driving on square stone, caveman wheels. There's no need to reinvent that. Just leverage what other people have already done, learn, and
work smart, not work hard.
Yeah, work smart, not work hard. And I had to buy my way in, and that's fine. So just having that perspective really made a big difference. And then, of course, I got the training too. So I had the experience from that. And long story short, landed the role and did great. And, things have been awesome since. So.
And you've made over 6 figures since then, just in what you've taken home from that role and from my role as well. So not only did you get your ROI pretty quickly, but you're already 6 figures in earnings from taking that bet on yourself.
For
and,
sure.
I love what you said before is we call it the law of congruency.
Yep.
If we're showing up with the energy of hesitation, investing in ourselves, there's an expression in sales called the objection you get is the objection you give.
Yep.
If you're giving money objections with yourself, then you're going to attract situations where people are just going to be giving you money objections. If you're giving partner objections, if you're relying on other people for your success and getting permission for your life, well, guess what? The universe, God, source is just going to keep mirroring that back to you.
Yes.
So it's so important to know and to embody the belief system, like you said, of who it is that you want to step into, because that is essentially what's going to be mirrored back to you in every room that you're in. So you might as well show up. And I don't like the phrase fake it until you make it, but I do like make believe until you believe. Make believe that you have this mindset of someone that goes all in until you become that person who goes all in, because the external will only come as a byproduct of the identity and the mindset work first. And when that happens, when you buy yourself time, when you get resourceful with Klarna and PayPal credit, like I did with my coaches,
Yep.
all the doors open up for you.
Yep. You could open up doors that wouldn't previously open, So think of that catapult again. The rock would just fall, but if you pull it back, suddenly now there's momentum and this thing can go forward. So it makes the impossible possible.
That's exactly right. And I feel like we could just talk for so much longer, but if you guys don't already know this, Mike is in Revenue Room with us. So Mike and I run a sales training program. He's the DM setting strategist. Not only does he share how to DM set, how to outreach offer owners, how to get on offers, how to craft magical messages that get people to respond, I'm sharing with you, I'm teaching you sales so that you get 2 for 1 in here. And not only are you getting this empowerment mindset with resourcefulness and drive and motivation and identity work, this is the room that you're in. This is your baseline frequency. And we just recently opened up our doors to sales reps and setters. We have someone in there training to be a setter right now. She's freaking killing it. We have someone that joined a freshman in college who's learning the skill set of sales and closing, and we're about to certify her. And every girl that comes in, they get dibs to be on my team. So when and if a spot opens up, I only hire internally. So not only are you coming in for this magical experience of literally what we went through, like we are in integrity of that. So we're teaching you everything that we learned. And if you haven't had a chance to connect with me about it, or if you have any questions, just shoot me a DM on Instagram at Radiant Rahoff. But we're more than happy to dive into more details with you.
Yeah, just last thought on that before we wrap up here. Just being in that room with the right perspective, the right glasses on, so to speak, I think is huge, because you mentioned earlier that a lot of times we kind of get stuck in this, basically stuck in like the matrix way of thinking. And you didn't use those words, but it's really easy to get stuck in like the blue pill way of thinking. You get stuck in this box, basically. And so to be able to see, like I said, when I had that little gladiator guy and I invested, and I was doing the outreach, and I just it opened up a world of possibility that I didn't even see before. And it was always there, but I was just tuned into like the wrong radio channel, so to speak. And I just had to like change my channel. I had to change my frequency. And all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, the world's totally different, but it's the same world. You like the change is me. And so just by being around people that had like this empowering frequency that I, to be honest, didn't really have access to before, because the cards I was dealt, people didn't think that way. They were kind of just thinking like, oh, we're just shooting for normal. Let's just get our regular job and do things normal and just do what's safe and, this and that. But there is no like guarantees in life, though. The only guarantee in life is death. Like, we're not guaranteed anything, even like a quote unquote safe job is not guaranteed, as I learned, because that can be taken away from you. And like, you can't blame someone else. It's not their responsibility. Like,
yeah, it's all about the rooms that you're in. They
the
say you're a collection
huge.
of the 5 people that you're with. It's like, okay, look at the 5 people that are around you.
So,
Do they
and
have
pick
a
them.
blue pill mindset?
Pick them.
And when it gets hard, pick that too. Choose your hard, because what you're doing right now, working a 9 to 5, slaving away, building somebody else's dream, that's hard, but it feels comfortable. But it's also hard to take this little step and just watch your entire life open up for you. And then it just becomes, I would choose this hard of my days over any day of when I was a server, serving tables, 15 tables at a time, having customers yell at me, having to bite my tongue. You couldn't pay me enough. Like, you couldn't pay me anything to go serve another table, because I choose this hard. And you, the listener, I want to empower you to just choose your hard, because it feels hard at first, but the rewards, there's no words for what you're about to create.
Just the underlying philosophy. There's no words for like how much the game changed. Choose your people.
Oh, yeah.
Choose your hard. You don't have to stick to the same hand you were dealt. Everyone's dealt something. Usually not a royal flush. So discard a few cards, pick up some new ones. Reshuffle that hand.
Oh, man, what a great episode. As I said before, if you have any questions about Revenue Room, any question about how you can be a remote high-ticket closer, a setter, where we train you, we certify you, we teach you the skill set to get on rolls and do exactly what Mike did. Do exactly what we teach you. So we're here. We're in your corner. Just by you listening to this podcast episode, you have leveled up. You have taken that first step to shift that mindset and to step into more empowerment in how you lead your life. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And you'll just have to catch us inside Revenue Room to see this duo in action, or until the next time that we do our next episode together.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Bye. If this episode resonated with you, if something clicked, stretched you, or made you see what's possible, share it and tag me on Instagram at Radiant Rahoff so I can hype you up properly. And if you haven't already, subscribe and leave a 5-star review so more women who are ready to step into high-ticket sales and reclaim their freedom can find this space. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited for you already. See you next Tuesday.